demonstrate and illustrate the difference in prayer. And the idea came donuts, a donut shop. And if you think about a donut shop, you think about the fact that in a donut shop are all kinds of donuts, all kinds of varieties of donuts. You can have your sweet donuts with the glazed donuts, that yeasty sweetness, the chocolatey sweetness from Devil's Food donuts, the crunchy, subtle sweetness from old-fashioned donuts, the iced donuts where you have all of the goodness of both the glazed donut and the frosting on the donut. All of those things, all of the things, donuts are similar, they're very similar. And I thought about that in relationship to prayer, how in many religious traditions that they pray and they pray very much and very often in the same way. But in our teaching, if we were to take how we choose and approach prayer in this tradition, it would be a bit different. There's one donut that when you first bite into it, you get the sweetness. It's there. You get the mapley goodness that's there. But as you continue chewing, there's something else that's savory that not a lot of people expect to get out of a donut. But how many of you have had a bacon donut? And I have to apologize to people who don't eat pork, who don't eat meat. But the thing of it is that a bacon donut has the same components of a donut. It has the sweetness, but there's the savor. And the way that we pray is very much the same, in the sense that we also recognize the importance of prayer, how powerful, how important prayer is in our teachings here at Open Heart, in our New Thought, Ancient Wisdom tradition. But there are some differences, there are some nuances when it comes to prayer. First, we recognize and we realize that everything is created twice. The chairs that you're sitting in were created twice. First, they were created in the mind. Someone thought up the design. Someone thought of the materials that were going to go into it. Someone thought of how they would connect together. But it was first created in the mind. Everything that we see, everything that we experience has 2 points of creation. It's first created in the mind. And then secondly, it manifests. It comes into physical existence. It went from a person's concept to now that you're able to sit in these chairs and to listen to me for a few moments. But the thing of it is, everything is created twice. So when we approach prayer, we approach it from the understanding that everything is created twice. So we begin the process of creation in our own minds. And it's important that as we begin our approach to prayer, to understand what it is that you want. What do you want? Because what happens so often, we see a situation in life, a circumstance in life that we don't like. We see a situation that we have difficulty with. We have things that we wish to have in our lives. People that we wish to have show up in our lives in certain ways. But it's important to know what it is that we want. So many people, when it comes to prayer and their approach to prayer, know what they don't want. They will talk about their problems. But the thing of it is from our approach to prayer, we understand that rather than talking about what we don't want, rather than bringing down a laundry list of all the stuff that is going wrong, of all of the stuff that is happening, that's why when people come and approach me for prayer and ask me to pray, and they begin rattling off their problems, I don't want to know your problems. I know it sounds cold, I know it sounds callous, but what do you want? How do you see the outcome of this situation? Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, has one of the principles. And Stephen Covey, if you didn't know, took many New Thought books, read them, and summed up the ideas. One of the ideas is to begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. What do you want? If you're having difficulty with a person, then a harmonious relationship would be something that you want. If your money is funny and your change is strange and credit won't get it, then you're looking for abundance. You're looking to know prosperity. If it's that you are suffering from ailments and things are going on and things that are happening with you, then you're wanting to know wholeness and health and well-being. Because the thing I've discovered, and Les Brown says this, that when somebody asks you how you're doing and you tell them you're not doing very well, that 80% of the people don't care and the other 20% are glad it's you. So what it is that you want, what do you want, becomes very important when you begin your approach to prayer. We call that the mental equivalent, being able to focus and to see it before it actually happens. To understand, again, everything is created what? Twice. First in the mind, and then it manifests as we focus on those things. So that's important. We have to understand that it's already done in the mind of God. As God began the process of creation, that is already done. No one invented electricity. It was discovered because it's already done. No one created gravity. It was discovered. And by discovering the laws of gravity, we've been able to do things with it. We practice the laws of gravity each and every day. When you step on an airplane, the airplane is able to take off from the ground. It's because we understand the laws of gravity, but nobody invented it. It was already done by the universe, by the Creator, already done in the mind of God. And the things that scientists and other people who are continually doing, what they are doing is not creating things in the sense that they are bringing them clearly out of the air, but they are discovering things that are already available, that the universe created and makes available to us when we open our minds. When we open our minds, when we understand, many people years ago thought about the fact that Roger Bannister, who did something that no one had done up until that point. You may not be familiar with Roger Bannister, but he was the first person who did something that they said was impossible, and that was to run the mile in under 4 minutes. And after Roger Bannister did it, a whole bunch of people did it. And now, if you can't do the mile in under 4 minutes, and if you're a track and field professional, you're considered slow. Bob Beamon with the long jump, when he had that 29-foot long jump for years, it was said to be impossible, that nobody else would be able. It was a fluke that he had something on that day. But once Roger Beamon crossed the barrier in our minds, in people's minds, other people began to do it, and now it's commonplace to do over 29 feet. So it's already done. So when we approach prayer, we do that. Now here's one of the things right here, the distinction between our teaching and all other teachings. And people, even in New Thought traditions, will sometimes argue with me about this. But when I listen to them praying, and when I think about the way in which we pray here, here's the difference. This may shock you. We don't pray to God. Whoa. We don't pray to God. That's why we call what we do spiritual mind treatment. Because if it's already done, if God has already done it, then we don't have to ask God, please do this, please give me that, please make that happen. We have to condition our mind to be open and available to the possibility. We have to begin to understand that healing is possible. Harmony is possible. Abundance is possible. Well-being is possible. Peace is possible. It's nothing to God. It's already been done. It's we are the ones. We are the ones who, in our minds, will erect barriers to prevent it from happening. So it starts with us. It starts when we begin to understand that. And there are 5 steps to our understanding of what we call spiritual mind treatment or scientific prayer. And it should be, and I don't want to be rigid about this, but this is just a way, a format of thinking that makes a difference for us. So that we set, first again, we call it the mental equivalent. We set the stage for what I like to call God action. Meaning we make ourselves available for God to do what God does. Where we create within our minds the condition for it to happen. God action. We set the stage. Some of our earlier New Thought teachers like to call it the theater of the mind. I think about hearing Reverend Ike say that. The theater of the mind, in your theater of the mind. But in the theater of the mind, being open and available to what happens. We start out by talking about whatever situation it is, the qualities of God. What do we know about God in this situation? I keep talking about relationships where there's rifts there. So we might begin by saying something like, I know that God is harmony. I know that God is peace. I know that God is cooperation. I know that God is collegiality. We begin talking about the qualities of God as we begin our prayer. That's the stage where we set so that God actually can happen. But what is it that I know about God in this situation? And then we come, that's step 1. We come to step 2. Because we affirm that there is no spot where God is not, and because we are emanations and expressions of God, we remember Scripture tells us that we're created in the likeness of God. So if we are God in expression, that means that we have the same qualities as we were affirming about God. So I am harmonious. I am peaceful. I am collegial. I am these things too. Because there's no separation. That's why we don't pray to. We pray from this knowing. And that's step 2. We allow then God action to happen. And the way that we do that is, again, if we can see it in our mind, if we conceive it in our mind, and we can begin talking about it in that way, 2 words that are helpful, they begin a phrase, I see harmony happening between me and so. I see a sense of collegiality with me. I know well-being. I know. But whatever it is, we begin repeating that, saying that I affirm these things. I know these things. That's where the God action takes place. And that's step 3. This is the important part. This is where we bring the mental equivalent into play. Whatever it is that you are looking to have happen, this is where you talk about it. This is where, more importantly, not only do you talk about it, but you see it, you know it, and most importantly, you feel it. Because this is not just a rote kind of thing. You know, there are people that have rote prayers and been praying them and praying them and praying them over and over and over again. I remember when I was growing up in the church, there was a man that would get up and pray, and you knew what his prayer was going to be. Because he said the same thing over and over and over again. every Sunday, Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. But this is where we take the process and we begin to feel what it is. Greg Braden, in his book, The Lost Secrets of Prayer, now they really aren't lost, because people have been knowing them, maybe not practicing, but in his book, The Lost Secrets of Prayer, he tells how he encountered a Native American healer. And as he went to that Native American healer and it hadn't rained for many, many weeks, and they were in desperate need of rain, and he said that he was going to spend some time praying so the rain might happen. So he and Greg go to this prayer circle, Native American prayer circle that was formed. And Greg thought it was going to be a big ceremony, take a lot of time or whatever, but he said the man simply closed his eyes for a few moments, and then he said, let's go. Let's go have lunch. Greg was puzzled. He thought it was going to be a long ceremony. And they got in the car and drove off. And shortly after that, rain happened. He asked him to process what went on. And the man told him, he said, I didn't pray for rain. He said, I prayed rain. I didn't pray for rain. I prayed rain. In other words, he said he took a moment as he stood there to close his eyes, and he felt the water from the raindrops rolling down his face and on his head, and his clothes getting wet. He smelled, you know how when rain is impending and the clouds start to form, he smelled the rain clouds as they approach. He heard the water from the raindrops hitting the ground and beating out a pattern. He did all of the things in terms of, in the theater of his mind, the God action, seeing, smelling, hearing, feeling. Ernest Holmes calls it fire in the belly. But by doing that, he didn't pray for rain, he prayed rain. And when we talk about seeing these things, we don't pray for them. We see them, we know them in action. We know them happening. Feel it. And then, once we've laid it all out on the ground, put it all on the table, then we move to, you hear in traditional churches, people will make an announcement and they'll tell you, thanking you in advance. Knowing that you're going to cooperate. That's the next stage of gratitude. Step gratitude. Being thankful even before it happens. That's important. Even before you have physical evidence that whatever it is that you have prayed has happened. Being thankful. I know that it's already done. And then finally, release. Step 5. You let it go. Again, in traditional church, there was a song that we used to sing, take your burdens to the Lord and leave them there. We're not using that same thing, but what we are saying is, once you have prayed, you let it go. You release it. We like to say we release it into the creative medium. That's the place where God actually happens. That's the part of the universe that goes to work on whatever it is that you pray. That's the part, a lot of times people say we take the mystery out of things often in this teaching, but that's where the mystery is. We don't know how it's going to happen. We just know that it's going to happen. We don't get caught up in the how. We just know that it's going to happen. We do that. And you all know I like to use this illustration over and over and over again just because it's a good one. I was never really a good basketball player. My son's kind of smiling back there because he knows that. He was a basketball player in our family. I was not all that great of a basketball player. But there were times I had my moments. And there were times where I would have the ball, I would shoot the ball, and even before it went in the goal, I would turn and start heading down court. Because I knew, without really being able to explain why, I knew the ball was going in. And as I was heading back down the court, I would hear the 2 points. 2 points. Well, back in those days, we didn't have 3 points, 2 points. But I knew the release stage. And when I did that, I relaxed because it was
already.
And so it is.
And so it is.
I'm just going to do some stuff. You just jump in. You're welcome to sing. See, our music, let me say this about African music too. African music is communal. So at any time, please, you know the words, you're free to jump in. he'll know it anyway. See, that's a Memphis musician. He knows what to play anyway. Give Mr.
all that we have learned today, we take it in, we make it our own, and we simply live from those very truths. We give thanks for all who have participated today. We give thanks for the lesson, for the beautiful music, the centering moment, the affirmative reading, and just all of the beautiful energy that each and every person has brought into this space and into this place today. And knowing that it's already done. So as I move into my space of treatment, there are only 5 very simple steps. I know that God is. If God is, then I am. And whatever it is that I'm treating for, I know that it's already done. I give thanks. I release. I let go. And I let God. And so it is.